we're going to just kind of like have a conversation. I'll run through some questions that we have. If we could start by, we'll kind of go through each person. And if you want to just introduce yourself, give a little bit more information about, as much of your journey as you'd like to share and kind of what your connection to the clinic has been. Savion, do you mind going first?
So I'm based in Southeast, so around like the Skyline area, Paradise Hills. I graduated like about 2 years ago at the same time. And so I mostly just do a lot of community work within San Diego, with Glisten, San Diego Pride, and Gender Fluid Collective. That's all like to support trans folks, and then send them to different resources and stuff. I'm going to San Diego City College for a degree in computer science, and I have been on T or testosterone or HRT for about a year and a half now. So
Thanks, Savion. Apollo, do you want to share anything about your journey or anything kind of else about yourself?
I started coming to Rady's for treatment back in 2019 at the beginning of the year, and I started testosterone on 30th. So I've been on it for probably the same amount of time, like a year and a half. And then last year on November 12th, I had top surgery. And then just yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago, my new birth certificate with my name being changed legally came in. And so that's really exciting. I took a year off, like a year break in between high school and college so that I could, get further in my transition before going back in public all the time. But now that I have my name changed legally, I feel like I can get an ID, I can like get a driver's license, I can get a job, I can go to college, and it'll really feel like I can get stuff going.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Skyler, do you want to share anything about your journey or about yourself?
Yeah, so I guess from what I've heard so far, I'm the newest to this. I've been going to Rady's Children's Hospital for about only like, I think my first visit was back in July of 2020. So I'm probably the newest to all this stuff. I came out like a month before that, but going there has been pretty cool for the little bit that I've been, and it's been extremely helpful for me for sure. Going to be starting HRT hopefully around February of next year, so looking forward to that.
Cool, thanks, Skyler.
I'm excited for you.
Asia, do you want to share anything about your journey or anything else about yourself?
So I'm Asia. I attend UC High School. I'm probably the youngest person here. I'm in my freshman year of high school. I went to the gender clinic for the first time, like I think June 25th, I believe so. And I started HRT August 7th of this year. So only like a little bit over a month ago. I came out actually as, I am not officially out, but I thought I was transgender. And I told my mom this when I was about 9 or 10. And then for some reason just completely denied that, and then went on to be a gay male. And only till about February of this year, I actually came out to my mom as transgender. So
thanks, Asia. Do you want to share anything about what it's been like since you've been out?
Honestly, it's been pretty good. No negatives so far. I've actually been flirted with a couple times, which is so weird. I've never experienced that type of male attention before. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I walk around and I feel like a woman. I think I look like a woman. So yeah.
You look gorgeous.
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
So next question is, what is it like kind of growing up as a trans or non-binary person in San Diego or Southern California? And anyone can jump in who has thoughts on what that's like.
I'll say it's actually amazing. I would say San Diego's a really welcoming city. I've grown up here my whole life. I actually lived in Ohio with my dad for a few months, and that's a major change. But San Diego is such a welcoming place, and I think everyone should live here. So,
no, I agree entirely. I live up like north a little bit and then to the east, and it's a little bit more conservative here, like Trump signs in people's yards and stuff. And so in high school, I would kind of get bullied like vaguely, like they were kind of too scared to bully me because this is California, like if you're a transphobe, I won't be afraid to like shut you up. But when I go to San Diego, it's so much better. Like just walking around, I go to San Diego a lot for different kinds of medical appointments. Like I have not only my transition and HRT, I also am seeing, other medical professionals. And every time I go down to go to the doctors, I'll just love the time that I spend in San Diego because the environment just feels positive. When I'm ready to move out, I really want to move to San Diego if I can.
I have a question. What do you feel like what do you feel that people don't understand about gender dysphoria? Like, what is the thing like the main thing that you hear over and over again that's sort of the misconception?
They think that it means that you hate yourself. They automatically assume that if you have dysphoria, that you must hate everything about your body. But that's so not true. You can still love your trans body. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, I hate everything, I just want it all to go away. You can still love yourself.
Yeah.
Trans person. You don't have to look in the mirror and be like, ugh. You can still love yourself no matter how you look and still be a trans person.
I love that.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, it's like, it's not so much like I hate myself, but it's like my body is a work in progress, which can be said about like anyone. Like, your body is a consistent working in process. You're trying to get to where you want to be and that kind of comfort level. So it's not so much like, what Apollo was saying.
That's interesting.
Another thing is I'll hear from some people that, like, I've been told, like, oh, if you don't feel it constantly, then are you really trans or whatever? And it's not a constant thing. Sometimes, you'll feel good about certain aspects. Sometimes you won't feel as good about them. So it really, dysphoria is not like a constant static thing. It is a moving, changing thing that you'll deal with. It's perceived too commonly, at least in my opinion, as something that stays the same.
I love that.
I have a question. What has been the best part of gender journey for you all? Sometimes, we talk about dysphoria and all of the bad things, but what's been the maybe kind of unexpected best part?
I would say like the support in the community you make once you come out, and then along with the transition, because I remember coming out as trans, or I already had an LGBT community around me, but afterwards, like having the community that's like constantly cheering you on your transition, it's like, yes, you did your needle, good job, and then like keep going, and then just like seeing like the small things change about your body, or the little things of like getting your letter for like a surgery, like the little things about that it makes you like so overwhelmed with happiness.
Yeah, that's really true. Another thing is like you were saying, the smallest things will make you happy. I remember after my first shot of testosterone, I had one small leg hair that grew and it was way thicker than the rest of them. And the amount of euphoria that it brought me, because I was just like, it's happening. It's happening. Like that, I can remember that so specifically. I was in senior year.
I love that.
It really is all the little stuff that happens, like the little moments of like, oh, you got your first piece of affirming clothing, or you went to a store and someone didn't misgender you without even knowing who you are. Little stuff like that just absolutely makes it worth it 100%.
Asia, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know we lost you for a minute.
Well, I kind of have two things. The first thing is kind of obvious is attending the clinic. I feel like that was the best part for me because like I'm here today and this is who I am now because of the clinic. And I feel like that's definitely one of the best parts. And the second part is the results I'm seeing. Like I may only be a little bit over a month on, but honestly, like my hair grows back slowly. I got it quicker than most of my friends who are on HRT. And I'm really happy about it because now I can go like a whole week without having to shave again.
All of you, where did you hear about the center?
Okay, so I actually learned about the gender clinic from one of my close friends. She recommended it to me because I was actually really bummed out because one of another clinic I was supposed to go to around March actually canceled on me due to COVID. So when that happened, I was completely bummed out. And she was like, she sent me like the phone number and the link to the website. She was like, check out this clinic. They're one of the best people, like, ask for Bixby, stuff like that.
With me, my mom went around Facebook and was talking with people, and she met someone named Kathy Molick from Trans Family Support Services, and they ended up referring us to Bixby. And it was really cool because it was all really quick how fast we were able to meet with Bixby and get the process started. And it shows how effective and streamlined the Rady's Children's Hospital really is.
That's amazing.
Bixby actually referred me back to Kathy after I had come to Rady's. I found out through, I think just my doctor had referred me, but I was having a lot of trouble getting my referral approved for, I think, top surgery, and Bixby sent me to Trans Family Help. And so I think it's cool that both of us kind of have that connection with Kathy.
Definitely, that is really cool.
I know for me, I went through a therapist and then they recommended Rady's. And then on top of that, I have another like close friend who was a mother of a trans kid and they also went through Rady's. So it was really exciting too.
Nice.
If you could go back and give yourself some advice kind of either a few months ago or a few years ago or kind of earlier on in this journey, what advice would you give yourself looking back?
Definitely one thing I would tell myself is to not be as scared of what my family and friends are going to think, because I was really worried about how they would respond and how they would react. And I was always thinking that they were going to have a bad reaction, or they were going to be, they were going to disown me or something. But at the end of the day, if they weren't really my friends, they wouldn't have supported me. And the fact that some of them kind of figured out what was going on before I did at the same time, it really showed that they did care about me. And so just something to remember would definitely be good, that there's always going to be someone watching your back.
That's a good point. If they didn't support you, they're not worth your time anyway.
I would probably tell myself that I do not need to change the way I present myself to the world in order to like please transphobes, because if somebody only believes a trans person's experience if they abide by strict gender roles, they aren't actually a trans ally. Because when, say, a cis person defies gender rules, there will be people who praise that and they love it. But if a trans person does the same, the trans person is suddenly faking, which is totally hypocritical to me. So I would tell myself that I can still dress and act and do whatever I want to do, because transphobic people are always going to be transphobic. It doesn't matter what I'm doing.
And isn't a lot of the transphobia really a reflection of their own insecurities and their own fears? I mean, isn't that really where it comes from? That's what it seems like to me, is that people that have issues with it, it's their own problems that they're projecting on you.
True.
Any other thoughts on advice you'd give yourself?
I would say to myself that you shouldn't be afraid to be who you are. No one's there to, obviously people are going to be there to judge you, but you are the person who judges yourself. And so just stop fighting and denying who you really are, because in the long run, you're just going to spend the next few years miserable and unhappy because you aren't who you want to be.
Absolutely true.
I was going to say, if I had words to myself, I would probably say something like, it's okay to think about it and it's okay to know that you're not wrong. Like, there's nothing in your mind that's going on that's like, this is not who you are. I wish I could tell myself basically, it's internalized. Like, it's not your fault. None of it is your fault for having these kind of thoughts or for feeling that you're misjudged in some manner. And it's completely normal. Like, everything you're experiencing is normal.
Why is it important to raise funds for the Center for Gender-Affirming Care, and why is it important to kind of care about gender-affirming healthcare spaces for trans and non-binary youth?
Personally, I'm around a lot of people who are, trans and LGBTQ, especially in my area that I live in. A lot of them don't have parents who are very accepting, or they're not very helpful, or their family isn't really helpful. Seeing that there's places like this that can help these kids out more than their parents are able to, or than that their family members are able to, it's a really important thing, because without places like this, it's hard for these people who need this push so that they can find this happiness in themselves to reach that point. And so having them be able to get this help, it's extremely beneficial.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's already hard enough for trans and non-binary youth to just coexist, whether it be in high school, college, or just out day or just regular day, and especially for brown and black folks, to give more money to these places is to give them more access, to give them the ability to be themselves, because without it, they might be hurting. They might be hurting on the inside, outside, however that might, manifest. And I'm glad the Rady's is here, because without it, a lot of different trans folks in San Diego would not have the access that they do now.
That makes sense.
I think it's important to raise funds for the places like the Gender Affirming Clinic because kids need something like this. Kids need an outlet to go to, and parents do too. So there are
Yeah.
places out there that don't have places like Randy's clinic. So I think it should be important to raise funds like the clinic because I think there needs to be more because no kid should have to go through this alone, nor any parent.
Yeah, I think it's really important to raise the funds because where else are we going to get it? Like, if you're a part of the trans, it's not like you can go out and get it for yourself, especially if you're not privileged enough to have a family that supports you. You can't just walk out and say, oh, today I'm going to go start my transition. It's really difficult to do that. And if you do it, good job, like props to you. You're a very strong person, but a lot of people need help and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to need help.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so much has changed even in like the last 5 years, just the conversation around gender and being trans. And I think like the mainstream public are just learning now so much, and there's so much more to learn. And then even those of us in the community, in the queer community, even we're learning so much. You know, I find myself constantly having to read as much as I can and understand as much as I can, have conversations with people who do identify differently so that I can understand it. And I think what you all are doing is a very brave thing. You are out there, and thank you for talking to us today, because this is very brave as well. I admire you all so much. It's you know, it is a struggle and it's a weird time in the world, but what you're doing, it gives a lot of hope. So props to you all.
If you could say kind of in a few words what the Center for Gender Affirming Care means to you, we can kind of go through and give each person an opportunity. You can say in a few words or a few sentences, like, what does the center mean for trans kids and non-binary kids?
Gay people are just nicer.
Duh.
The center to me means the center to me genuinely means trans survival, because there's a place for you to be yourself in complete safety.
Adding to that, just a safe space, a spot where you can go to and talk about anything gender-wise that bothers you, and even stuff that isn't exactly gender-wise stuff, but you can still bring it up and talk to them about it. It's the ultimate safe haven for trans kids, and it's beautiful.
I would call it home because once I step through those doors, I'm not afraid to be who I want to be, and I doubt for anybody else is afraid to be who they want to be when they go through the doors. So I don't sleep there. I don't, I only go there like a couple times a month. But I only go there every few months. But I think it's a great place for everybody and it's safe. So.
I would definitely call Rady's just like an informational haven. I am a complete nerd when it comes to medical stuff and just wanting to know more about gender junk, about, my body, how it works. And, like everyone said, like a safe haven where you can be yourself and you can understand yourself. You can know your next couple steps so you can completely be yourself and like enveloped. And I love it.
Is there also a social aspect to it at all? I mean, have you met any new friends there? Have you, mentors that you've met there? How are the relationships that have come from there?
Well, Hello Bixby is a great mentor. There's a social worker there, and I've talked with them like a lot personally. They helped me fill out the documents for getting my name changed legally, and they helped me, like they told me the process of how to get like the what's it called? The certified documents from the state and everything. Like, they've just been so helpful. And when they first called me to ask if I wanted to join this, it was like, definitely, because if they're telling me about this, I know that it's something cool because Bixby knows what's up. Like, every time I come into the gender clinic to most of the time I see my endocrinologist, I'm just like, I wonder if Bixby will like check in and say hi and see what's up. And my endocrine too is so sweet. Like, it's everyone there I haven't met any like personal friends, but the entire staff just is so welcoming.
Amazing.
I was gonna say, I think one of the things that that we struggle with is it's really hard to create new and kind of like innovative spaces like social support and like groups without funding, because we're a medical model, and so we have to bill insurance, and insurance doesn't care about things like spaces for young people to connect with one another, and that's where we really like rely on philanthropic support to be able to add those like creative elements that really make it or break it for people.
Got it. Noted.
Yeah.
And definitely one thing to say is Bigsby is probably the ultimate mentor figure that I've ever met, seeing as I have known Bigsby for probably about 3 months total. And they, as soon as my last meeting started, they brought this up immediately, and they just knew that I would absolutely do anything for an opportunity like this. And so the fact that they knew and that I would want to be part of something like this, for sure. And even just in the short amount of time that I've known them, that they've been so helpful, and they've genuinely been like the biggest helping hand I could ever have in my gender journey.
It's amazing. Bixie's a rock star.
Oh, for sure. Because for me, when my appointments for top surgery, Bixby was there for every single one. It just showing up like, "Hey, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then on top of that, with Dr. Brenlin, I've only met with him like a couple times, but it's, for me as a Black trans person, it's so like refreshing to have a Black doctor with you. Like the minute we had, just talked like what's new, what's going on, like it's just refreshing, and like it was like I knew I was going to be helped. I knew I was going to be cared for, helped, regardless of what I identify, of course, and then the color of my skin, which is important, really, especially now.
The feeling of safety, then, yeah, the safe
Absolutely.
thing. Sounds huge, yeah.
Okay, so I kind of want to add on to what they just said. They are the right pronouns, right? I'm sorry. Okay, just making sure. So what they said, I completely agree. My mother, like, she was just in tears after we got out, because you guys are so understanding, and at her being a Black woman, she never felt like anyone really listened to her when it came to like medical scenes and stuff, and no one really believed her. And for Dr. Inwards Berlin, he kind of just like summed it up for her real quick. No, there was no complications, and she just felt like that was so amazing. And I felt amazing too, because it's like, obviously I don't present Black, but as a mixed Black person, I think it's absolutely important for places like this, because places like this, they care for everybody. They don't care your background, your gender identity. They're for everybody. So yeah.
Anything else that anyone wants to add? Anything you want to say to maybe people who are living in parts of the country where they can't access this care? Other kids who may like not be out, or may kind of just be thinking about this themselves.
Message to all trans kids out there who aren't out: it gets 1,000 times better. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, and it feels like everything's just gonna get more and more complicated, but eventually you do figure it out, and everything makes sense, and you'll be so happy with yourself, and it's the greatest feeling you'll ever have in your entire life.
Take your time. Transitioning is not something that happens immediately. It does not happen overnight. So I say take your time, really learn more about yourself. If you want to jump into it, but don't rush over it. Don't rush anything, and don't expect things to happen overnight, because transitioning can take years to have the full effect that you want. So I say just take it slow.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, don't feel like there's something wrong with your body just because your transition isn't going as fast. Sorry about my cat. She was screaming at me, and now she's... Okay. Don't feel like there's anything wrong with your body just because your transition isn't happening as fast as you would like it to, or as fast as somebody else. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Like that is good advice regardless of whether you're LGBT or not. Like, just don't compare yourself and your progress to someone else's. And another thing, even if you can't get these resources for yourself and you're unable to start transitioning personally, still educate yourself about what you need to do when you're able to, because trans education is trans survival. And as long as you're able to learn and know about your body, what you can do to get the help that you need when you're able to, then you're going to be able to make it and you'll get there.
That's great advice. Really great advice.
I would say there's always support. Whether you think there's nothing out there, there's always going to be a space, online, offline, in person, for you to reach out to, for you to at least relax in. I know from my own personal experience, it's like, even if I'm texting someone, even if I'm venting to them about like trans issues prior to my transition, like that's support. Like even if they're just listening, just an ear is enough. An ear is enough, and that goes for allies too who might be watching as well. It doesn't hurt to give an ear, and it could literally save a life, especially for trans folks.
Boom. That's huge. I think a lot of the people that I'm trying to galvanize to be a part of the Feel Something Foundation, to contribute fundraiser wise, they consider themselves allies. So this has been amazing. All of you are making great points. And I hope anybody that's watching at home is taking this to heart and taking some notes, some mental notes, because that's exactly it. I mean, as an ally, we're here to help.
Thank you all so much for participating and like your vulnerability with sharing your stories. And
yeah,
I know that's not easy stuff to do. I think so helpful for other kids to be able to hear and allies to hear.
Well, with you talking about our vulnerability, I literally, there were times when the other people were like talking and I had to stop myself from crying. Like I thought testosterone was supposed to make me angry. I'm holding back tears because being in an environment with other trans people just makes me feel so like good and safe and at home.
Oh, that's so sweet.
This is again why we need this money, to create more spaces like this so you all can connect with each other, because it is so important to be seen and to really be able to connect with other people that are going through similar things.
Yeah, I'm really inspired. I love what you said today, Bixby, about you guys are taking care of the medical side of things, and to be able to hopefully build up some funds and some interest in creating some community space. That sounds like a real project that we could get into. That's amazing.
Well, thank you all. Dr. Breland and I are going to stay on to answer some more questions about medical stuff.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. You're all gorgeous and fabulous and so smart.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.